Thrunite Catapult V5. This is the latest iteration of the Thrunite Catapult series, succeeding the V3, which I don't own, but if you own it and wonder about the differences, the V5 has a single piece body tube versus the V3 had a two-piece. The V5 does not have a tail button, whereas the V3 does. V5 has this electronic control here, a little bit beefier head here. Diameter of the head is the same, but this one is brighter and throws farther, so maybe a worthy upgrade to you if you're thinking about that. Quickly get the box out of the way as long as it's here. This comes with a cardboard box, which I like. Personally, I like this better than the Thrunite, sort of those lunchbox style cases, because I think most people are just going to throw the box in the closet. But just to show you what it comes with: instruction book or manual, some extra O-rings, a lanyard, and then here there's a belt, what I'll call a belt holster as opposed to a belt case. You know, a lot of them come with those big cases. This one is more, you put it in and the light's gonna kind of stick out a little bit. I think it's kind of a holster for what that's worth. And then the last thing is a diffuser, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Now let's talk about some uses for this light. This is a big thrower. If you have, I think, a lot of property that you need to search, you know, this is not one that you're going to probably want to be carrying around a lot because it's pretty big, it's kind of heavy. So, you know, it's not something, it comes with a belt case, but I don't really foresee myself taking it places and carrying it. But one of the other things that they said this is useful for is a bit of a self-defense type role. You know, it's built kind of like a club, and it's super tough. It used to be back in the old days that people would keep the big mag light next to their bed. This is my old 2 D-cell battery mag light, which is now sealed with some batteries in there for who knows how long they've been stuck in there, but I just keep it around for, you know, nostalgic purposes and I guess flashlight reviews. The Thrunite is just a little bit bigger. It's actually about a ½ ounce lighter. 1 pound, 7 ounces versus 1 pound, 7.5 or 7.7 ounces. If you're one of the metric type people, 650 grams, 657 grams. That's both with the batteries in each of them. You know, the mag light was good as far as, you know, the club went. It was not a great flashlight. What did it put out? Like 40 lumens? Great at the time. The Thrunite takes that to a whole new level. 1500 lumens, and I think you beat people up a lot more with this. You know, it used to be that people talked about, well, I guess people still kind of talk about it, the crenellations up here, and they talked about the DNA catcher, which, okay, so you're not going to be beating people up with your TN35, and in most cases, the crenellations are so that if you have it sitting down and it's on, you can see it. But in this case, you know, they talk about this as a bit of a self-defense kind of light. Keep it next to the bed, go kind of searching your property with it, beating people up with it. I think they might just work for something like that. The other thing that they told me with this light was to try and kind of abuse it and beat it up a little bit, because this light is built so robust, and they said that it can take almost anything that I could, you know, throw at it or even shoot at it. So stick around towards the end of the video. I'm going to take it outside and see just what kind of ways we can beat this thing up and see just how tough it's built. You know, holding it, it feels robust. I believe that it's going to hold up to, I'm hoping, everything I can throw at it, but we'll find out. All right, so moving on, let's have a look at the construction of this. It's a beefy flashlight. On the back, there's no tail button, which I think is good, because this type of light, you're not going to be holding like this. It doesn't make any sense to hold this kind of light like this to switch the modes. The V3 had that. This one has an electronic switch up here, and so you're going to be holding it kind of basically like a normal kind of old school flashlight with the buttons here, and I think that's good. The tail cap, there are some lanyard holes here, 2 of them, 3 of them actually, sorry. 3 lanyard holes. And then taking this off, let me show you the inside. So this runs on 2 18650 batteries or 4 CR123s. Unscrews there, and then the battery tube unscrews there. You actually can also unscrew it here to get into the head where the LED is. The threads on this, on the back, the threads are kind of triangular, and up on the front near the head, the threads are much more squared off, a little bit more robust. And I think that's probably because when you're putting the light together, there's going to be more of a stress point up here, so they put a little bit more robust threads up there. Whereas back on the tail cap here, you know, there's not going to be that much stress back here. Moving forward, the body here has this sort of diamond shaped knurling, kind of just about right in your hand, not too grippy, not uncomfortable. It feels good. Up forward here, the electronic controls, which I'll get to in a minute. There's some heat sinks up into the head. And then the bezel, which does unscrew if you want to take that off. And then up into the head here. The head has the XML to U2 emitter, putting out a maximum of 1500 lumens. It says it will throw that 649 meters. I'll get to that in a little bit. The other nice things they've included with this light is a diffuser. A lot of companies you have to pay for a diffuser. This one comes with it, and it's a pretty kind of beefy, robust diffuser. And the way it works is there's a little latch here. You open that up, and it slides right onto the head of the light, and then you lock it back down. You turn the light on, and it creates kind of a nice, well, diffuse beam. This light doesn't have really a moonlight mode. You know, the lowest output is 80 lumens. The way that the diffuser works otherwise is that you can actually open it and use it that way. So if you want to have the diffuser on and use it as a normal flashlight, or just flip it back on. So it's nice, you can keep it on the light, and then to get it back off, just pull that, oops, got the light on. Just pull that latch back out and just slide the diffuser back off. Go over the user interface. This is an electronically controlled user interface. When there is a battery in there, you'll see there's a little light, a little LED right there in the middle that about every 10 seconds will flash to let you know that the battery's in there. You can see that. You know, there's going to be a constant battery drain, but that battery drain is very small, so I really don't think it'll be much of an issue. I recommend getting the rechargeables for this so you don't really have to worry about it. But the way these buttons work is the rear button is on and off, and then when it's on, the front button will cycle it through the 4 brightness levels. And those go from 80 lumens, 22.4 hours, 400 lumens, 5 hours, 750 lumens, 2.3 hours, and all the way up to 1500 lumens for 75 minutes. And then it goes back down. It does have memory, so that if you put it on one, you turn it off, you leave it off for more than 2 seconds, turn it back on, it will remember that. From off, the front button is a momentary strobe. Just momentary like that, which is nice. And then when it's on, if you hold the front button down, it will go into the strobe, and hold it down for a couple seconds, it will actually stay in there. The strobe is a variable speed, as you can see, and then to get out of that, just single press it back into the mode. If you're worried about this accidentally coming on in your bag or wherever, you can actually lock out so that it won't turn on. And you do that by holding the rear button down for about 6 seconds. The light will briefly flash, and it is now locked off, and you can see you can't turn it on. The way to get it out of that is to hold it for a couple seconds. The little LED here will flash red, and then the light will come on. Up in the head here, there is a deep, smooth reflector with that centered LED, and this is rated at throwing 649 meters when you're out at the 1500 lumens. You know, the throw, it's a calculated distance. Calculated, of course, as everyone knows by the formula, distance equals the square root of intensity over E0, which in this case, E0 is 0.25 lux. I'm sure you all have that formula memorized. Don't worry, I don't understand it either. I didn't enjoy physics. But the point is that the distance is calculated such that when the light goes out to a distance when the light is below, kind of falls below a certain threshold, which is all well and good for comparing, you know, things. But the practical distance, practical useful distance I typically get by taking the meters and converting it into feet. So 649 meters becomes 649 feet. And the kind of the practical useful distance for this light is going to be a couple hundred yards, you know, 200, 250 yards. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and take this light outside, do some beam shots, kind of beat it up a little bit. 80 lumens, focused hotspot. You can see some stuff up close, even starting to get a little bit of illumination out there. Moving up to 400, you can start really seeing how focused that beam is. There's a fire hydrant out there, I'd say about 40 yards. Going up to 750, get out to those trees out there, I'd say 8,500 yards. And going all the way up to 1500. Super bright up in that close clump of trees. Out on that far clump, 8,500 yards, you can see way out there and even farther. And you can see just how focused this beam is. It's like a typical thrower. Nice focused beam, kind of, like I always say, kind of like a lightsaber. Up close, there's that fire hydrant. If we go into the strobe, there's the strobe, alternating strobe. And back to the bright. We throw on the diffuser, And here you can see the diffuser up at 1500 lumens, pretty bright. Going down to 80, 400, and 750. So the diffuser works pretty well in almost all of these. Even at 80, just for some up close stuff, it'll do plenty fine. Let's start with some light torture testing. Turn the light on at full brightness. Got some water down here. How's it doing down there? Now you can see it's still on. Survived a little bit of a dunk test. A little wet and dirty, but no worse for the wear. Let's have a look at it here as a hammer. Nail is flat down in there. All right, I'm gonna move on to a little bit bigger torture test. We're gonna shoot it here, shoot the light here with some 22 long rifle. See how it holds up. Smith & Wesson M&P 22. So here you go, little dent here in the back of the handle, but the light itself, no problem, certainly still works. Now you can see down into one of the heat sinks that time, but still, light itself, no problems. All right, come moving up to some 9mm with my M&P compact. The 9 certainly blew a bigger hole in it. 9mm shot to the head and the light no longer works. Alright, so I can take a 22, but maybe not a 9, not a little harder, but otherwise still pretty tough light. A few final thoughts on my Catapult V5 here. You know, one of the things Thrunite said when they sent this to me was that I should try and abuse it because it is built super tough with a little bit of a self-defense role in mind. It's shaped kind of like a club, you can carry it like a club, and you can strike things with it, and this head has enough mass that that is not going to be comfortable getting hit with it. Great light for next to your bed. But because it's built super tough, they told me to try and abuse it a little bit. And I asked them what they thought it could take and how much I could try and do to it. And I drove over it, no problem. I had hammered with it, right here, no problem. I shot it with a 22 right here. Little low mass, 22 caliber round, 1,200 feet a second. Took one right here, no problems. Really just kind of shrugged it off. Unfortunately, the 9mm round, 1,000 feet a second, a lot higher mass. Took right to the head here, right in the electronics, and I think that jostled the electronics just enough that it unfortunately did stop working. And you can see the LED here, which is still going, flashing that purple color, indicating there's a problem with the output. So in the end, yeah, unfortunately I killed the light. And I think if I had shot it up here with the 9mm, it would have done just fine. It was a small target at 30 feet, and I got it down in the head, and unfortunately it stopped working. Nonetheless though, the light is built super tough. Yeah, it took a round to the head and it died. But if you're looking for a light that has a little bit of self-defense capability in mind, you don't want to have a gun, you want sort of a club to keep next to the bed along with a flashlight, this may just be a great option for you. Check it out, the Thrunite Catapult V5.